All right, we are on air. It is, what day is Thursday, November 30th. We had a little absence for the last week because last week was Thanksgiving here in the United States, and then the week, well, you did the week before that, right, Nate? So that was, I was away, but everyone else should have been here. So this meeting is specifically for talking about community outreach for Backdrop CMS. And we've had a lot of great stuff happen, I think, since the last time we had an outreach meeting. I believe last meeting, Nate announced that we had launched a new showcase on backdropcms.org because since then we've gotten a bunch of new people who added their websites into the showcase, which is fantastic. There's 2 of them that I published this morning. There's another one that's going to need some better screenshots before it gets published, but it'll be coming shortly. Anyone else who has any sites that they've built on Backdrop that they want to show off, you're more than welcome to add them to the showcase. We do have a little moderation on there so we don't get a bunch of spam, but we will check them at least once a week, if not more frequently than that, to make sure that they get added and made visible to everybody. So thanks to everybody who submitted their sites. It's always really great to see what people are actually doing with Backdrop because a lot of times we don't get to see the finished product. So thanks for submitting those. Next on our list of changes for the website are a reworking of the navigation. We want to turn our current top menu into a drop-down. So taking out the menu that's there now and putting in the responsive drop-down menu that's in core. That didn't exist when we first launched the Backdrop site. So we just need to do a little theming on that menu to make sure it matches our designs, and then we can get that out. And I also would like to add the new footer design. Wes and Nika did a bunch of work on cleaning up the general page layout, and I'd like to get those changes onto the site too. So we'll take a look at that and see if we can get those rolled into those next changes on the site as well. For those of you that are subscribed to the Backdrop newsletter, you probably got a mailing last week to notify you about our new showcase. So that was the only exciting news that we were ready to put in the newsletter. We're also working on our new forum, which is up right now, and we'd love to notify people about that. But I wanted to have a blog post on backdropcms.org that we could send people to learn more about it. So that will be in the next newsletter, which will give us a little more time to kind of flush out the blog post before we notify everybody that they can jump in the forum. I have been noticing, maybe we'll talk about that a little later, but all of the continued work that's happening in the forum makes me really excited. I'm seeing a bunch of modules getting ported. I'm seeing them getting used on the forum. And I can't wait for people to start using that and see if it meets all their needs. So very excited about the forum. So the forum is definitely something we can notify people about in the next newsletter. We're also getting pretty close to having an agreement with the Software Conservancy. We had a bunch of emails just today from the folks at Software Freedom Conservancy following up on getting all of our signed agreements. It looked like they didn't have all of them, even though I thought all were sent. Gregory, I don't know if you've sent yours in. I know Jack reached out to see if they had one of a copy from them. And I think we should follow up with Wes as well because he hasn't been in the meetings recently to make sure that that application was received. But I think I saw copies from everyone else get sent in. So Karen, who's our contact there, is going to check with Tony, who's the lawyer, and see what it is they're missing. And then we should have an exact list of who needs to do what. And I'm hoping we'll be able to announce the Conservancy relationship in January. So also in January, we have Backdrop 1.9 being released. So I was thinking that in early January, we could send the newsletter about the Conservancy, and then in late January or early February, we can send the newsletter about Backdrop 1.9, and that would give us time to do code freeze on the 1st, release on the 15th, and then send the newsletter at the end of the month in case we need to do a bug fix release after the initial release. So that means that if we wanted to send a forum newsletter in December, we could, but because it is holiday time, we might want to skip the December newsletter because people are going to be inundated with a whole bunch of other news. So I could go either way on that. If we have the forum, we want to announce it, we could. We've got good information to tell people. But if we want to hold off on that and group it together with the Conservancy newsletter in January, we could do that too, if we want to do one in early January. So
I think that sorry, Jen. I think that it would be a good idea as you know, to say just happy holiday season and that we have a forum.
Okay.
And then Happy New Year, we have a deal with and service thing.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think especially since we have things to tell people, a lot of times we're kind of like scrounging around for some news, and now we've got a lot of good news. So maybe telling people a little bit more frequently is a good idea. Okay, that's the plan. Then we'll do December, January, and February. Fantastic. Okay, so in the blog post to land, we've had a bunch of great blog posts lately. There was one from Jeff on Badcamp that we notified people about. We've got the forum one coming up. Anyone else who wants to put anything into the forum or into the blog, we're definitely open to community submitted posts. So anyone who has an account on backdropcms.org should be able to create a blog post. I think that's right. Maybe it's not. I'll double check that and make sure, because we want anyone who's doing anything back with Backdrop to be able to get their stories told on our site. We have contact information for the people who send out the PHP Weekly Newsletter. And when Backdrop 1.8 was released, we didn't get a notice into that newsletter. I'm feeling like it's too late now to tell people about Backdrop 1.8. But I feel like we should try and jump on that for Backdrop 1.9. So when 1.9 is released, we should make sure we get into the PHP Weekly Newsletter. Just, if nothing else, to be in front of PHP people and remind them that Backdrop is still a thing. I know when we initially released 1.8, I wanted to wait until after we had the bug fix release out, but then we never issued a bug fix release because 1.8 was stable. So we should maybe come up with a contingency plan for that, where we do the same thing like we do with the newsletter, where it's like if 2 weeks go by and we don't need a bug fix release, we put the notification in the newsletter and in the PHP Weekly, and then that way it won't get overlooked like it did last time. If anybody has anywhere else where we could be telling stories about Backdrop, online blogs or tech communities or meetups, it's definitely hard for us to reach outside of the communities we already know. So we're definitely open to feedback and suggestions of where people might be super interested in Backdrop. We are going to be doing some closer collaboration with the folks at Civi CRM. They're going to be doing an event here in California in the first half of next year. We're hoping to work with them on, so I'm not sure where Backdrop will fit into their scheduling, but being involved in the conversations there should mean that we can find some place to be involved, whether it's doing a training on Backdrop and Civi together, or just having a bar night where folks who are interested in Civi can talk to us about Backdrop, or impromptu hallway session or BOF, Birds of a Feather meeting, or something like that. We'll find a way, because we feel like the people who are really interested in using Civi are the people that we're interested in serving with Backdrop. And so getting a chance to talk to them is going to be really great. With Backdrop and Civi working together, I also feel like there's a strong upgrade path there for anyone who's on Drupal 7. So we'll figure out, we don't know what that's going to look like yet, but we will figure that out. And we love reaching out to that community. So if there are other groups like that that are going to have a good overlap with the Backdrop community, we should figure out how to be involved with them. Videos. I saw a bunch of videos from Laren earlier in the fall, and I went back and added them all to Backdrop's YouTube channel. But if anyone else sees videos that come out that are Backdrop related, we should get them all added to the channel. So I don't know how I missed those when they first came out, but I've now subscribed to Laren's feed, so hopefully I won't miss any more. But they could be coming from anywhere. So I would just say, if anyone sees a video about Backdrop that you think we should feature, tweet at us or send us an email, or whoever's creating it, jump in, get her, and say, hey, I made a video. And we'll try and stay on top of that and make sure that those videos can be easily accessed by anybody who's interested in seeing more videos about Backdrop. So thanks so much for those great videos, and we will keep them coming. Events. So recap, 2 weeks ago, I was at the Nonprofit Developer Summit here in Oakland. That's something that is always near and dear to our hearts because the people who are there are right in the nonprofit space. They're always very interested in what Backdrop is doing. They have a lot of really great ideas of things that are going on in the tech world, the larger tech world, and how some of that relates to content management or security or all of these other things that are relevant to our audience as well. We had a great time there. We did one sort of session on Backdrop. It's kind of more of a conversation than it is giving a talk at that event, which I think was really useful. We talked to a bunch of people who were considering adopting Backdrop and a bunch of people who just hadn't seen it in a while. Jack also did a product demo. There's sort of a little demo fair where everybody gets to set up a table and show off something they've been working on, and I think that went pretty well as well, also. And there were a bunch of other places where Nate and I were able to voice our experience from sort of an open source perspective and not so much a Backdrop perspective in terms of how leadership is handled and how being, working with open source software can be a good thing for organizations. And there's just a lot of really great ways that we could collaborate that weren't even necessarily related to Backdrop as software itself. And that's always something I find really beneficial for small groups and nonprofits to get together and do kind of a mind share. So I thought that event went really well. I don't know, Nate, if there's anything in particular you want to add about being there.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of other startup, not necessarily nonprofit, but open source projects that were there that were very interested in the governance model of Backdrop and the philosophy. I think it's really interesting that apparently a lot of really enthusiastic developers dive into open source projects, but don't really have a plan or direction. I guess it's not that surprising, but anyway, they were all very keen to hear about how to organize and how to rally people and how to keep their projects, how to attract people and how to tell people what their projects are all about. And I feel like that's an area that Backdrop has been fairly successful in. And so they were very interested to hear about the processes that we've used. And yeah, it really was great to share.
Great. So we have a couple of events that we would like to mention upcoming in February. There is DrupalCamp Florida. I haven't been to DrupalCamp Florida in 2 years or so, but it's something that a whole bunch of people have been talking about over the last few months as being like the next IT camp to attend. Last time I spoke with them, they were open to hearing more about Backdrop. I haven't talked to them recently to find out if that's still the case, but I would imagine that that is a place where people could go to learn more about Backdrop. So it's on the list. And also DrupalCamp San Diego, which traditionally has been the same week as DrupalCamp Florida, has now been moved to later in the spring. So those are two on our list where we know there will be Backdrop things going on early next year. And if anyone is interested in information that we're supposed to be working on to get out to our community, we do have a content strategy map that was created by the folks at Facet Interactive who are helping us with some of our marketing. And it's in the Backdrop Ops, backdropcms.org Q, issue number 349. It just includes the kind of content we want in our blog, the kind of content we want on a video, the kinds of content we want in a newsletter, to try to figure out how to create the stuff that our audience needs to see. So if anyone's interested in helping us with content, that's something that developers are traditionally not real great at. We would love assistance in that area. And if you want to take a look at this content strategy map, that'll give you an idea of what we're hoping to have available for people soon. So I would recommend that. Is there anything else that we should talk about this week specifically relating to outreach?
Sorry, you were asking something, I didn't pick that.
I was just trying to see if there was anything not on the agenda that we should talk about this week since we're here.
I have a question regarding the forums. Not sure how what the policy or the goal would be now. Would we? I'm not sure if enforcing is a strong word. If there's discussions in GitHub that are not actual tickets, actionable tickets, will we be encouraging people to go to the forums and then do the whole discussion there? And once there's a plan that's formulated, then file a ticket? In other words, are we still going to be allowing question type tickets on GitHub, or just suggesting that people, pushing them to forums? What's the plan?
I would encourage people to use the forum because I think that's a place where we're eventually going to end up having more people. I think it's more accessible to more people there. But right now, there might still be more people in GitHub. So I'm not sure we should enforce that policy. I think we could say, this is the kind of question that we could ask in the forum, but not necessarily close the issue and then force them to go to the forum. And I think that over time, as there starts to be more people in the forum, it'll naturally go there because people are going to get an answer much faster in the forum than they would in the issue queue. So I would say for now, if we just kind of set the policy of being like, questions are better served in the forum, and if they come up in the issue queue, if there's people in the issue who can answer them, that's great. If you can answer them saying, we should do this in the forum, even better. But let's not enforce anything yet, just because we want to make sure that people get the answers as fast as possible. And so whichever route they choose to take to get there, we should encourage that.
I was thinking about the template that we have for the tickets. See how they say if you're so maybe we should have some text there. We should update it and say if what you're about to file is not a verified bug of the system or a feature request, and it's more like a question, then perhaps you should head to the forums.
That would be great. Good idea. Nate, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, if it's all right with you guys, let's go ahead and wrap this meeting, and then we will meet again in half an hour to talk about everything in the Backdrop Weekly agenda.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks. Drive safe, Gregory.
Not driving.
Yeah, keep in mind, he's in Australia, so.
Oh, right. Other side of the car.
The other side.
I was a little nervous.
I know, I thought he was driving too until I put it all together. Okay, well, thanks everybody. Talk to you guys in a couple minutes here.
All right, bye.
Bye.